Hello, and you're watching Lance Armour After Hours live here on a Saturday night for a special occasion, really. First time we've ever done it on a Saturday night, but we decided to bring it to you on a Saturday instead of a Friday night, and you're watching. Here's the typical music. There's Martin when I need him. But anyway, welcome to Lance Armour, lads. Another week of League of Ireland has been commenced, has been over and done with. A bit of drama all over the park, but I think he's noticed from the start that I am not Dave hosting or I am not Martin hosting, and Connor looks different. But we have a new co-host on the line tonight. Dave has gone missing. We do not know where he has gone. He is somewhere in London, and he certainly doesn't have a moustache like Mr. Sean beside me. But welcome in, Sean. Sean, your mic is muted. I muted you during the intro, but I
Thanks,
hope
man. Good
you're
evening.
well and welcome onto the show. It's good to have you on.
Cheers, Connor.
But yeah, first of all, before we start, thanks for everyone who's tuned in so far. Make sure you drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I know it won't be on Spotify this, but if you're go to Spotify, give us a 5-star rating, and make sure if you have missed out on before, make sure you subscribe to Lansdowne Roar Plus, where you can catch any extra action we do, our State of Play show where we talk about Premier League, Champions League, all things extra, and our extra team of the week goes up every week for Irish players abroad. And I think the team of the week over the last couple of weeks and the future will be dominated by Mr. David McGoldrick, which I'm sure we'll probably end up talking about at some stage in the show because I've seen a comment rolling in about Didsy, Sean. But anyway, Sean, why don't you tell us what game you were at last night so we can get the whole thing rolling and we'll get into it. You were in Talca Park, weren't you?
Yeah, was that talking last night? Second half, it was much like the game in 2024 when Chelsea were going for the title. Going 2-0 down, leveling at 2-2, and then conceding in one of the last kicks of the game. I suppose a real kick in the teeth for Shells. But Shells Pats were the better team at the end of the day. I think they definitely were deserving of their 3 points. But just the way Shells lost that game is frustrating, and Joey O'Brien is going forward like he's going to be scratching his head, because if Shells hadn't won that game at Drogheda, you'd be thinking, okay, what's going on here? But I think they'll be okay. But it's just for Pats and Kenny, he'll be absolutely delighted. Yeah, they were the whole thing at the corner kicks decided the game at the end of the day. The first goal was an absolute cracker. Just kind of fell perfectly in the box, and what a volley! Just keeper rooted. Nothing you can do about that, to be honest. But I suppose just the time and space he had in the area was concerning. But look, at the end of the day, it was really intense Dublin derby, and Shells and Pats over the last couple of years, over the last 3 years, we'll say especially, there's been a real needle in these games, and it was evident last night. But it was a brilliant game. It was back and forth. Pats went 2-0 up. Their fans were going absolutely wild. And then, the whole back and forth, and then Shells equalise and the place erupts, and then they go down and get the winner. So it's such a kick for Shells. But yeah, it was maybe not the best quality game, but certainly a really enjoyable game. And look, another great advertising for the League of Ireland on a night that the rugby was probably taking centre stage. The League of Ireland produced yet again, and all over the country there was fascinating storylines and results that just so many talking points. And even tonight with Sligo Rovers win, that was a massive win. But I suppose for Drogheda, that the lack of away fans probably made a bit of a difference there.
Yeah, but just on Shells, are you worried about what is going on at the moment? Not just on the pitch. Well, I know it's technically on the pitch, but like things that aren't happening. Like Meepo's out injured at the moment. Jack Henry Francis seems to be carrying something, because there's no way he'd be sitting on the bench if he wasn't carrying something. The defensive struggles with injuries at the moment are looking really bad. And then Ciara McInroy last night went off injured. So is that the biggest worry, rather than, because I don't think anyone has been overly impressed by Shells here, but this year so far. But do you think it's just mainly down to injuries, or what is the situation?
Look, like last week was a really good win in Drogheda. Shells really turned it around, and I saw comments today I saw a comment on Twitter about building the team around Harry Wood, and Harry Wood again last night. Like when Chelsea need a spark, he just pops up, plays a quick 1-2, and he just somehow squeezes the ball in from the right hand side. Such a tight angle, but he got it in. And Harry Wood is just sort of magic. And I suppose you had Evan Caffrey as well for the goal. You just saw the determination to win the ball, have the shot, and then it just fell nicely for John Martin off the post. It was a great save from Nang. I wouldn't be too worried. Early in the season, it's very easy to be really overreact to results and stuff. It is a long season. It's a long time till the 1st of November, the 30th of October, I think, this year. It's the last game of the season. But look, it's hard to know at the minute. Obviously, the injuries won't. Like Owen Casey and Paddy Barrett out for long spells. Like Shells are going to have to find a way to shore up that back line. And I suppose the way Shells are playing, they're playing a really controlled, passing the ball, probe, and waiting for the opportunity. And when you have players like Harry Wood and Evan Caffrey, that's grand. You can work it, but then you're also kind of you're sacrificing your solidity at the back in a way. And look, I don't know. Like when Shells won the league, Damien Duff prided them on their defensive capabilities and abilities to keep a clean sheet and hold on to leads. But I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see how Shells fare out, because when you look at the next few games, I mean, it's Derry on Friday. It's Rovers on Monday, it's Derry on Friday, and then it's Bohs the following Monday. So it's big games coming up, and I suppose we'll know a lot more as to where Shells are at after them few games.
Yeah, and I forgot to say, lads, that if you're looking to come on and join us on the show tonight, because it is our call-in show, but it is not through the usual way, through the number, as the SIM card we have for it is on David Dunn's phone, and he is based in London. I can't magically appear on it. So give me a DM on Twitter or a DM on Instagram or Facebook, or comment on this, and I'll get the link sent forward to you. And we have a few lads. We definitely have Mr. Bill Gain coming on at some stage tonight to talk his usual nonsense that he loves to talk about. But anyway, I'll go through our first two comments from Rory, who's always the first man on. This isn't even a League of Ireland comment. Here, shove Didsy back onto Big Williams. Didsy may make a return sooner rather than later, but I think that's a good. I'll read the next one because it's on Didsy as well, actually. But here, Didsy has to be approached. If it was the case of bringing on a lad as the third striker to notch a goal or slot home a penalty in the shootout, you take Didsy over the rest any day of the week, which is a very valid point. But speaking of Didsy, that all came from a very famous interview last night at Eamon DC Park, which was at the game between Galway United and Dock, a 2-2 draw between two sides that will fancy themselves to hopefully stay up in the league this year. But what did you? We'll go through probably the Didsy thing, because a few people may have not seen the interview, but it was Barry and David from LOI Talk that was the two lads that interviewed before I mess up, because there's so many lads at LOI Talk. I know John's one.
I think it was Ben. I think it was Ben talking to Heimer.
Oh, it was Ben Cooley. Yes, it was Ben.
Yeah, really interesting comments from Heimer. I suppose like the argument, Dave McGoldrick, he's 38. He retired from international football in 2020. But when he played, he was probably the most unlucky player to ever wear the green, or the number 9 for Ireland. He was magic when he played. Thinking back to them Switzerland-Denmark games, 2019 under McCarthy, McGoldrick was the spark, and every time he got the ball, you felt like something would happen. Now he's probably lost a touch of pace or the bit of magic. I remember, I think it was it that Switzerland game where he did score the goal. I think he knocked the ball past the player on the halfway line. He just out-sprinted him, had to create a chance which didn't go in. It was brilliant. He probably doesn't have that turn of pace at this stage, but look,
the thing is, he never really had that turn of pace. It was just he was just a cute footballer. He always a smart.
Yeah, he's very very clever. Just
because people, I haven't said the comment, but basically what Ben asked him was, is David McGoldrick under consideration? He didn't say yes or no, but he did say age doesn't matter to him. It's like Seamus Coleman. If you're good enough, you're good enough. Especially with goals and experience, and you're always going to be under consideration for the national team. I know we're talking too much probably about the national team. It might piss people off because we're in the League of Ireland, but because it happened last night, I think it is very key to mention. But yeah, I think I don't know if you've seen his goals today or his goal today, Sean. It was absolute magic. It was a
goal and assist, I think.
Yeah. In front, it was 1-on-1 with the keeper, but it was just that little dink over him. Like a lot of players were trying to smash it or side footed. He just dinked it over him, just pure mad. And his assist was actually lovely as well. A lovely left footed ball into the box. Which was a nice header, but it was a lovely. And like I have watched a bit of him this season. I'd say more than most people have, but I'm a boring bastard that just watches football for no reason. And like he has lost that. I know he was never that quick, but he has lost that extra yard of pace or that bit of athleticism. But he keeps himself in some shape that he always contributes to the game. And it did take him a while to get going at the start of the season. If you look back at the start of the season, he barely started. And I think he's massively benefited from Keeler Dunn, who was the top goal scorer in League One, the best player in League One, going to Wrexham. And has kind of put all the pressure on Didzy, and Didzy's come up trumps. But yeah. But anyway, I believe you've seen the highlights of Galway versus Dundalk last night. What did you think of that? Probably the two teams that no one really doesn't really have high expectations. Well, I think people have higher expectations for Dundalk really than Galway United. France Perot, obviously the statement signing at Galway this week, beat off the likes of Bohs supposedly and Sligo Rovers to get him. What do you think of that? And obviously you do a lot of work out at Galway. Is the feeling in Galway that they will have enough to say up this season?
Oh, the feeling is very positive at the start of the season, especially because look, Galway weren't expected to do much. Signings were an issue. There was a few weeks before the season there where Galway were thinking who they're going to have. Like there was so many outs, but they have signed in, and I have to say Chris Twardek has been a great addition. That's his second goal now. Great to get one at him in DC Park in front of the fans. But like Galway can score goals now. All of a sudden, they used to struggle for goals. And I suppose Pierrot will really add to that. Can he catch fire? And we'll see. But I suppose when you've Jimmy Cohan in the middle, he'll be creating. Arthur Parker's been a real find for them as well. Just these creative players that can set up attacks. That's what you need. But Galway, they haven't lost their big. They're a big physical side, and they're so hard to play against. They just make it awkward for you. They're just like Dundalk did manage to get 2 goals against them, but I was at the Galway Shells game 2 weeks ago, and Shells has really struggled to create anything against them because Galway were just breaking up everything at any possible chance they got. But yeah, look, they went 1-0 down, and obviously David Hurley, Stephen Walsh still doing the business for them. Scoring the goal, and then Twardek with the other. Bobby Burns, of course, bit of a kick in the teeth because he was only left Galway for Dundalk this season. But yeah, look, Galway will be definitely happy with their start, as will Dundalk, because they went to Tala and they got a point, and I suppose they maybe threw away a point against Drogheda. They were leading for long periods of that game. But yeah, both sides will be fairly happy so far. The one team that would have been worried were Sligo Rovers, but then again, they won tonight, so it's up in the air.
Yeah. I think I actually think the Dog might be a bit unhappy with their start. I know they're on 4 points after 5 games, and you'd probably expect that if anyone said that, you'd expect that maybe they won 1 and drew 1. But the fact is they've drawn 4 out of the 5 games, which is a strange reflection on it, because they'll feel like they should be doing so much better than what they are. Like, and it's mad to think, like, they should probably think they're on minimum, they should be on 8 to 10 points. I need to work out which games I think, but like the likes of that Derry game away from home, like how they blew away that win that day was crazy, and like the penalty Rob Cornwall just conceded was ridiculous. The Drogheda game they obviously threw away. The Rovers game away from home, that was a smash and grab. Like maybe they thought, yeah, maybe we didn't deserve to win that, and then Pats blew them away. But yeah, I think it was big for them to recover after the Pats game and get a draw away at DC Park, because as little as certain people, including me, think of this Galway team, it was important to go away to, because it's not an easy place to go and to get a point, particularly for a very young team. And I think Gabemi Arubi is having a brilliant start to the season as well. He seems to be really stepping up to light in the Premier Division. I think he's one that could possibly break into under 21 setup with Ireland before the end of the campaign. I think he's doing really, really well. So fair play to Dundalk going away and getting, as you say, getting that late thing through Bobby Burns against his old club. But yeah, and then obviously Sligo Rovers will be on tonight. And obviously, lads, if you want to come on, have your say. I'm sure Bill Gain will be joining us soon. He will give his usual Cork nonsense. And I'm sure Mr. John Gallagher, who is famous up in the Dial these days, doing interviews in the Dial, will want to join us at some stage. And if he doesn't, he will get sent off and get banned from the channel forever, because the Cork, and obviously his Bohs propaganda where he said Bohs were going to win the league before the season started, seems to be working out quite well. But yeah, Sean, what did you think? I don't know if you've seen any of Sligo versus Drogheda tonight, but just on the face of the result, would you say terrible result for Drogheda, great result for Sligo, or would just one of those days? I don't know if you seen. I put a post up yesterday on my socials saying of the mannequins in Drogheda gear, saying the weigh-in for tomorrow has been set up early.
Yeah,
And I was absolutely shocked how many people fell for it, because it's funny. I just came across it was what Fleetwood done during COVID, and they filled the stand up, and because obviously Fleetwood's not a huge ground, but they put certain sections where the standing was with mannequins to make it look better for the players. And I just threw Drogheda kit on. I just put it through ChatGPT and said put it in Drogheda gear, and I didn't expect it to turn out that well, but it pissed a lot of certain Sligo people off, thinking I was in the market, but it was just something that was funny. But anyway, back to the game. Do you agree with my sentiment that bad result for Drogheda, great result for Sligo?
Yeah, look, Sligo, these Saturday night games, they tend to win a fair share of them at the showgrounds. There's teams that go to the showgrounds on a Saturday night and they get turned over when they really shouldn't. Look, Drogheda will be disappointed with it, but when you're missing 400-ish, 500 away fans, you're definitely at a disadvantage. It's only like I remember what happened to Shells when they came to Galway after an incident in Drogheda 2 seasons ago or 3 seasons ago now. Definitely did have a bearing on the game, because when you're looking to the stands for a bit of support and you don't have any, so it's obviously a factor, and that's probably going to factor in for Drogheda. I don't think they, it's another another 3 games without away fans, so it's going to be difficult times for them. No, look, it's too early in the season to be panicking about teams, but look, these things kind of even themselves out over the course of a season, and I think Drogheda probably will be all right, but who won't be is the question at this stage. So it's hard to know.
Yeah, because we have a Sligo fan in the comments, Sligo boy, who was admiring your mustache last week, saying, "I hope you are all mental." I hope we're all right, but I hope he means it in a good way. Sean, your camera angle looks like you're defying gravity. Fair play to you, Sean. Man of many traits. Ground control to Major Sean. Someone has a slag in your Meepo, actually. Sorry, I should put it up during thingy. If Meepo fell off a boat, he'd miss the water. Come on now. I think he is very, very valuable to Sligo, whether it's scoring goals or not. But yeah, Sligo by Galway. Bobby Burns, when your girl has Jesus. Sligo win. It's a wee shame. You did say you Sligo will rise again after last week's Sligo boy, so I'm hope you're happy after that triumphant victory over Drogheda. But what do you actually think of the ban on Drogheda? Because I think it is. I don't disagree with it as such, but I disagree from it in the sense that Sligo Rovers and their next 3 opponents away from home are all really being punished, aren't they? They're not getting the
there is an element to that.
Yeah, but I know, and fair play to Drogheda, they picked up the bill. They paid the 80 grand, 70 grand to fix Oriel Park, and I know a lot of people were saying last night that I hope Pats are getting the same punishment for throwing pyro on Tolka Park last night, but which we all know won't happen. But I think they just had to make a statement, didn't they? Really, with Drogheda, because especially with the minister being there, and I know he's dug a hole for himself that he's left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. But for the FAI's point of view, they kind of have to somewhat look to be on his side and lick up to his arse a wee bit rather than sticking with the fans and this sort of thing. But yeah, do you think it's a bit over the top? Do you think they should have handled it in a different way than banning them for 4 games?
Look, it was completely over the top. It happened last night. Don't be worried about it. Unfortunately, it will happen. Flares, they're a brilliant part of the league. They're such an attraction. They create such atmosphere, and you saw the colour at Tolka Park last night. But look, the fact that the minister was there was probably the only reason that there was such harsh punishment. We saw him come out with some ridiculous statements in the following days. Look, if that happened, then I know a lot of comments about if that happened in GA or whatever, there wouldn't be the same punishment. But I suppose it was the fact that he was there to unveil this new pitch that he supposedly, he did, and put the money towards. So yeah, he probably had to come out with something, but shouldn't have been that harsh. And 4 bans, it is difficult on the likes of Sligo tonight. They're missing out on revenue that they should be getting, so it's probably unfair. It's almost like you're punishing other clubs for something that happened. But maybe a one-game home ban would have been more fair. I'm not sure. Not an expert on it, but I just do think that it was just the punishment that was handed out was totally over the top.
Yeah, especially when I know they're banned from all games at Oriel Park this season as well. So like that's
Yeah.
Oriel. I know I can understand why they've done it at Oriel, but yeah, and I think it's a good way to transition into another game last night that was a huge game at the top of the table because PJ with his picture of Sean St. Ledger or with Taylor Swift says, any idea why James McLean didn't play, lads? It seems to be a running trade last night after last night's victory for Shamrock Rovers over Derry. You see by the stats there on screen, Shamrock Rovers completely dominated the game, basically 70% possession, 15 shots to 7. I don't even think that's not the really embarrassing stat for Derry. It's the fact that they had Shamrock Rovers at 8 on target, Derry had 0. And I think total grosses doesn't really bother anyone. But like yeah, like the fact that 8 shots on target to 0. I don't know if you've watched the back highlights, Sean, or seen any of it, but I was watching that one on the laptop last night with Shells on the TV, and the say that Shamrock Rovers dominated them was an understatement, and I was shocked by how well they'd done it. Because if you compare it to the President's Cup, what was at this stage 6 weeks ago, probably.
Yeah.
Derry were deserved winners that day. I know Shell or Shams had a kind of swapped the team a wee bit, but like they can basically field two teams, and no one's going to say, "Oh, they're a weaker side." But yeah, I thought last night, I thought Jack Byrne basically took the piss out of him for the whole time he was on the pitch. I thought he was picking the ball up in pockets, taking it in a turn, making passes. James McLean didn't really know where to go. He was chasing shadows, and although I disagree him playing there, I do feel bad for him because he's not a midfielder, but it's probably his thinking that he should be playing there. And Adam Brennan again on the left hand side was absolutely outrageous. I know he's definitely the young player of the season so far, but there's an argument to make he's up there with one of the best players in the league so far this season. And I know it is Michael Duffy at the moment, but I think Adam Brennan's like right behind him in terms of wingers in the league at the moment. The way he's made that step up from the first division is absolutely ridiculous. How well he's made a step up, and I thought Victor Ozenvuna I thought was excellent, playing in that number 10 role for Rovers as well. But yeah, what do you think of the whole Derry situation, Sean? At the moment, the fact that they went to Tala last night, got battered basically. James McLean in midfield's not going down well. The fans are really turning on Tiernan Lynch. So what's your thought process?
Yeah, I listened to Dan McDonald's review this morning and the Independent. He alluded to that President's Cup and how good Derry were, and I suppose it was that McLean and Dara Markey link up for the goal that night. But Derry really played with a real energy in that game. Now you can't read too much into the President's Cup all the same, but yeah, I think Dan said it was a game that really kind of failed to spark. I know it was the penalty that decided it towards the end of the game, but look, Shamrock Rovers, they're picking up their points. They're doing the business. You know, they've won their two big games at Tallaght Stadium so far, Pats and Derry, so they'll be happy enough. Derry, yeah, it's a weird one because obviously started well, but they came from behind to beat Sligo, and again they had to do it to beat Waterford. They came from behind again to salvage a point against Dundalk, but like that has to be concerning at the same time because you know if you're starting games so slowly, it's not every week you're going to come back and bang in 2 or 3 goals to turn the game around. But yeah, it's interesting at Derry because so many times the last few years there's been a lot of hype about them. New signings this season, the same thing. Everyone was thinking, you know, Derry could have a real tilt this title. They still could, but yeah, they won't be that happy at the start, and they've Shelburne coming to the Brandywell on Friday night, so that's going to be an interesting game to see how they fare out against Shells and maybe how Shells fare out against them, because the Brandywell is a place that Shells have struggled apart from obviously that great final day in 2024. But yeah, look, Tiernan Lynch, if Derry aren't getting the results that they are expected to get, he's going to come under a bit of pressure.
Yeah, but like I know you're saying there's big expectations over recent years, but I think this year kind of feels different as such.
Oh yeah,
not even with McLean. Like before McLean, like the fact they brought in the likes of Dara Markey, one of the best midfielders in the league. Josh Thomas came in. Obviously, he was only on loan, but he's on loan again at Drugs last year. So, like, it seems like the business this year was more astute, smarter signings. James Onyeka from Waterford seemed like a very, very smart signing. Even bringing Paddy McLean back, who done very, very well with Sligo last season. I know Barry Cotter came in late, but like people were thinking this Derry team really are building a League of Ireland super team, and then obviously add McLean on top. I know Brandon Fleming is a brilliant left back, but you were thinking McLean should be at least a little bit of an upgrade. But like last season's signings, isn't it? It was the thing online. Everyone was making a mockery of them signing uh, pensioners and getting lads that were ready to retire. Like, and I think it hasn't really benefited when you look back at it now. A lot of those lads are a lot are not at the level really good enough to play in the League of Ireland anymore. But yeah, I think this year felt different. I think we were expecting big things. So it's a strange one with Derry. Like I think Tiernan Lynch is going to come under a lot of pressure if they don't win this week. He was going to be very much under pressure if they had lost to Waterford last week, but luckily they have probably the best player in the league in Michael Duffy, and he can just create something out of nothing whenever they want. But yeah, so it's very. I just think. Do you think if Derry lose this week, do you think Tiernan Lynch is on his last legs?
Uh, if Derry lose this week, it's some result for Shells up at the Brandywell. But yeah, probably is going to come under a bit of scrutiny because, yeah, as you said, this season did feel that bit different. Really, statement signings, if you will. A team that's really, well, they're building towards one thing. They want one thing up in Derry, and that's a league title. They have the European football this season. But look, it's just so hard to progress in Europe when you haven't won the league. You might get through one or two rounds, but I know they do start in the Europa League, which is an advantage. But there's that to look forward to for them. But in terms of the league, yeah, they want a league title. They're gunning for one up in Derry. They want to take it out of Dublin. But I don't know. It's hard to see them winning the league, to be honest. And what is success for Derry this season? It's if it's not winning the league, I don't know what it is because you can get Europe again. You can go on and run the cup maybe, but I don't know. Look, Lynch is going to have to start winning a few games, and that starts with Shells on Friday. But I'm not sure that game. It's a game I don't really look forward to. Shells going to the Brandywell, but look, if Shells could get a result, it'd be a win would be massive. But obviously that would put the pressure back on Lynch. But I don't know. It's certainly a massive game this Friday night.
And speaking of teams winning games, there's a certain team can't stop winning. Bohs, as Joe McCarthy says, though although he's saying on the opposite spectrum, Bohs will crack as usual. And yeah, Bill Gain, you can join us whenever you want, sir. But yeah, Bohs big win last night over Waterford at the RSC, down at Alan Reynolds' old club. As he referred in his pre-match interview as his club, Waterford. So yeah, big win for them. They just keep on rolling. It's another one though. It feels like it's different for them this year. I know that people are saying, "Oh, they'll crack," but it feels like I don't know if everyone's expecting them to win the league, but everyone expects them to be well in a title race come the end of the season because what they've done so far has been very, very impressive. Obviously, that win last week against Rovers was, I know it was only 3-2 in the end, but for the first 90 minutes of it, it was an absolute statement victory. The demolition job of Rovers was very, very impressive. And they got their win last night. Sam Todd got the header, who's been probably the best centre half in the league so far, I would probably say. I wouldn't say exactly because a lot of goals have gone in a lot of games, but he seems to be the most consistent player in that defence in the league so far this season. And obviously Dawson Devine is probably, you'd say, maybe player of the year so far. I know a lot of people are calling for the Ireland shites, which I think is a bit premature, but away from that, they seem to just be very solid all over the pitch. And yeah, they went away to Waterford last night. Waterford needed a result after getting that comeback loss in the Brandywell last week. But yeah, do you think Bohs will just keep on rolling and they'll keep churning in the wins and they'll see themselves in a title race? Come, will they still be in title race late September, October time?
Now they've done this 2 seasons ago as well. They flew out of the traps, but it ultimately fell apart. They didn't end up getting Europe that season. Last season they started terribly and they ended up just scraping into Europe on the final day. But yeah, they're turning out the results. They're winning the games. it just keeps on rolling for Bohs, to be honest, at the minute. But when you have Dawson Voy and Colin Whelan, you know, you're always gonna have a force, and I suppose it's about holding up the defence. Last week they got leaky at the back towards the end, but they had the hard work done. They were 3-0 up, and they were brilliant. They blew Shamrock Rovers out of the park, but they so often do at Dalymount. You know, they love playing them there. But yeah, look, they probably left 2 points after them in the Aviva against Pats too. They'll feel they definitely had the chance of the game, as was said by Anang. But yeah, look, Bohs are starting well. How long will it keep up? I'm not sure. I said last week made the point that they don't have European football this season. You know, their sole focus is on the league, so they could really, if they keep their house in order, they could really have a tilt at it. And Alan Reynolds, a man that could have been sacked at any stage last year, is still there, and he's certainly making a right fight out of it.
They can focus on your or they can't just focus because they are in Europe, aren't they? They finished fourth.
Sorry, I think we were making that point about Pats.
Yeah, Pats can focus on it, but we probably don't expect Bohs to go that far in Europe. It's just the fact that seeding wise, they're not going to be like Rovers, where they'll be Rovers. The impressive thing, Rovers will probably be seeded in the first 2 rounds of the Champions League. Probably the first Irish team ever in the modern day to do that, and they see him with. I don't know if I'd Shells or I know Shells qualified, but they haven't had the track record of the last 5 years, and then obviously the group stage was a bit of I wouldn't say disaster because they weren't terrible, like performances wise. It was just results wise. There was no goals, and they didn't live up to maybe their own expectations. But performance wise, the Shells, I didn't think Shells were that bad in the games they played. But like, are Shells going to be seeded in the first round of the Conference League? Do you know? Or
I'm pretty sure Shells skip the first round. They'll be into the second round, if I'm not mistaken. I think remember that from the end of last season. But look, it's just going to be so hard. No, they won't be seeded, but it's just going to be so difficult. Like you could draw the likes of Zurich again. You get the likes of Ludogorets. You get these really high pedigree teams that are in the Conference League qualifiers, and it's just so hard when you're not playing. Rovers done it last year incredibly, going all the way through. Now they did get, Josephs there at the stage, but to beat Santa Clara at the end. But how many clubs were going to do that? Beat the likes of a fairly decent Portuguese side? Like, it's just so tough when you haven't won the league and you're not going through that Champions League route.
Yeah.
But Shamrock Rovers shall get Europe this season. You'd imagine they will qualify for group stage. Shell's obviously done it last year, got Linfield twice, but lucky with the draw. But then again, they were a kick of a ball away from beating Rijeka in the round before to automatically qualify. Yeah. But yeah, look, it's certainly going to be an interesting European season ahead.
Yeah, because the likes of Derry, obviously, I'd say they'll probably try and invest more in the summer. I think all roads lead to Shane Duffy returning there in the summer as well. Bill, let us know when you want to come on. Give us a thumbs up. I know your camera's off, but or give me a text if you don't want to put your camera on and you want to come on still. Get all your thumbs up. Introducing the one and only. He's back again for another week, unfortunately. He has got. Is that Troy Powered behind your head? His goal, is it, Bill? Or Shane Long's goal behind your head?
Oh, you've Robbie Brady.
Oh, you have the 2 of them up. But anyway, Bill, welcome back on for another week. Mr. IFB, Mr. starting arguments with every single fan base in the League of Ireland. Although I don't think Shells have been your enemies yet, although you are very consistent on your thoughts about Shells. But what is the crack, Bill? How is all this evening? And who are you ready to rant about tonight?
To be fair, I did miss the game last night. I had other commitments. But like, if Tiernan Lynch is under pressure, and I believe behind the scenes that they're a lot stronger in their belief and that they'll get things right, then the common public perception will probably have you believe if Tiernan Lynch is under pressure, so is Joey O'Brien. Like, I'm sorry.
Sean, what's your thought process on that? Or Bill, maybe Bill, you tell us why Joey O'Brien's under pressure.
Because when Shells won the league under Damien Duff, and people know that I absolutely love Damien Duff, so maybe it's a type of jealous ex thing. Very plausible. But like, Shelburne didn't have the squad to win the league that year. So Duff defied the natural ability at the stars aligned, but he defied expectations with the squad. I think on paper the Shelburne squad is stronger than they were in 2024. If you look at the off season, they brought in Oran Casey for $100,000. Will Jarvis. They turned down money for Harry Wood. Rodrigo Freitas came in. You had your boy Spiel came back in, the Swedish winger. And one thing, and I'm thinking we'll look into this more closely maybe tomorrow. Damien Duff, you might remember around the time of the Turkish owners in 2023, he was being taken over, or when they were being taken over, there was question marks over his job. But one of the sticking points at the time, well, my understanding is that Duff wanted to recruit within the league, and the Hull owners are at the time were more into the analytics or buying players from outside the league. Since Duff has departed, Joey Bryan has very much abandoned the League of Ireland market, which Duff heavily relied on. And I'm a big fan of analytics and the like, but it just shows the department of the departure of the strategy between the two. And then you have stories coming out from the likes of John O'Sullivan on LOI Central. Don't know if you heard that interview a few weeks back. I just don't think Joey O'Brien is as good as what they're making people out to be. Now, he did a decent job when he came back in, but is that the case where you see in the Premier League or in other top European leagues, a team was in under a rut or it was stale, the manager was so someone just comes in fresh and it kind of bounces back for a period. I think Joey Bryan has to prove a lot more to me as of yet, to be honest.
What's your opinion on that, Sean?
Look, like when Joey did take over, his first game was Waterford away last June after Duff left after the Derry game. He done a brilliant job. You know, Shells they went a long time unbeaten in the league, and then obviously got the goal at the end of the day to secure the European football, and done so pretty comfortably in the end. But I don't think Joey's under pressure at this stage, to be honest, because he's certainly banked up some credit last season, and especially with the European performances, because when Duff left, it was such a question mark over Europe because it was only 3 weeks out from that Linfield game at the time. But look, Joey has done so well up to now that I don't think he's going to come under pressure anytime soon, unless Shells do go on a big losing run, which I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're just they're always going to keep picking up points, but unless something drastic happens, I don't think Joey's going to come under major pressure. But at the same time, performances probably have to improve a bit. And look, we saw last night Shells just didn't show up until 70th minute when Harry Wood created a spark, and then they got two. So he's not going to come under pressure yet, but barring something drastic, maybe he will.
But like, I know, Bill, just to come back to your point of the thing of holding and not recruiting lads from, like, I know Will Jarvis came from abroad, but like, he was signed because of what he done for Shells previously in the League of Ireland, so he was kind of a signing from within without being within, if you get me. Jack Henry Francis was brought in last summer, was a signing from within without being a signing from within, because if he hadn't done what he done with Sligo Rovers previously, I don't think even though Shells already signed him in that January, but then it came into the summer. So like, it hasn't been that many from abroad when you think of it. Like, wasn't Beng signed when Duff had left or before Duff had left?
Around.
No, Ben came from Cork. It was last.
Yeah, had Duff left at that stage?
Actually, he had.
Duff had left.
Yeah, so that's another League of Ireland. So that's basically three bills. So they've gone with obviously Green. They brought in.
But first of all, I was just going through it systematically. Will Jarvis is fine.
Yeah, but you can't make points. You can't make points. You can't back up, Mr. Gain.
Hold on. People know my thoughts on Milan and Beng. He's not very good. But if you look at the players they paid fees for, or in case they came from up north, if Daffin was in, probably Rodrigo Freitas, Milas, or Mali. Like, there's still 3 or 4 others. And now, as I said, there wasn't a lot of continuity between the Shelburne squad, because you had Will Jarvis come back in, so as you said, he was already involved. When you do that, you'd expect to go the next level up. And I draw comparisons with Stephen Kenny's side when they finished the 2024 season, I think, extremely strongly. I thought they might even make a late title charge, but they fell for it in the end. A team can make the Europe the European results stand for themselves, and I can't discredit them for that. But they made a run for the league when the league was probably out of their reach or touch. It's very easy to do so when the pressure isn't on like that. I think it's a different story about them replicating it in 2026. And I'm even seeing Shell supporters now saying that now they've admitted that it was during Duff's time too, but that they were the worst team at defending set pieces and the worst team at attacking set pieces. And the way football is going, like you see how Caulfield, Mikel Arteta is probably the league around equivalent to John Caulfield. Like, but if you're not performing at set pieces, then I'm not sure if you can climb too high above the table, to be honest.
Opinion, Sean? Do you think Bill is just thinking too much into it?
Look, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I suppose I'm not going to say whether he's right or wrong. We all have our own opinions and things. But I suppose the comparison between Arteta and John Caulfield, I saw a lot of Pats fans on Monday night online that were not happy with the way Galway were playing. But look, that's always the way John Caulfield and Galway are going to set up. It's going to be hard for them to go toe to toe with anyone, so they kind of they have to make things difficult for the opposition. But yeah, I suppose in terms of the Shelburne thing, I know the analytics was a big influence on the signing, maybe with Lundrum and Roach and that. But look, we'll see.
Did you have you been unimpressed by Freitas so far? I wasn't impressed last night, but I thought he was quite poor last night. Although you have to give him a bit of time, like to settle in and stuff. But I thought he really struggled last night. I didn't think he really offered much at all. I thought the lack of Meepo and just his presence up there and his running behind and how he stretches defenses was badly missed.
Yeah, you have to give Freitas time to settle in, I suppose. When he played against Galway as well, maybe not that impressive. But look, new signing coming in, new country. I know he's playing the Portuguese third tier. That's a big difference to playing the League of Ireland. I suppose when you give him plenty of minutes in the legs and plenty of match experience, it'll probably come more naturally to him. And when he learns to play around, look, if he can link up with the players that attacking options the Shells already have, it could be a real force. So I suppose it's just about him learning to gel into that team.
Yeah, and Bill, back to your predictions for the start of the season. Just on the first division again, you predicted that Cork would win the league with ease and score 100 goals. And just looking here, they drew last night with Cove, obviously, which we know. They are top of the league, but in 4 games they have scored just, you'd say, a measly 7 goals from there going. Like, same amount of goals as Wexford. Doesn't seem to stand out to me, Mr. Bill, as a team that's going to go and score 100 goals before the season's out. I seen you asked someone, did you put up on Twitter last night that what's the most goals ever scored by a single player in the 36 game season? And you think Seanie Maguire is going to break that, do you? So what's your thought? Do you not think 100 goals is possible anymore? Do you think, have you been underwhelmed that Cork can't seem to score more than 1 goal at the moment?
Well, statistically, like if as it stands, they're not going to reach 100 goals. I threw that up as a bit of fun because, again, I actually wasn't actually watching the match. Other equipment, but it's interesting they haven't, outside of the top, the trio of Keating, Maguire, and Mpango. They've all their league goals between them, isn't it? They're probably hugely reliant on that, and I said it before. Keating and Maguire, when they play together, I've never been completely convinced by it. I think in the first division you get away with it because the standard is obviously lower and like good players, they'll figure it out. But prior to Roy Keating's injury last season, literally about 5 minutes before he went down and was out, I think to myself, the partnership between Keating and Maguire just doesn't work, and they're trying to fit like too many players into one lineup, or too many attacking players, or just didn't seem to mesh well. Mm-hmm. And now you've Mpango. I know that the plan probably wasn't necessary to have Mpango, Keating, and Maguire in the first division. It's kind of ironic now that they've probably a more potent attacking force than they did in the Premier Division last season. That's probably not by design. I think it's by circumstances more than anything else. But on current readings, I don't think they won't get 100 goals because they've been wasted in all their matches. The ones I've seen, they need to pick up chances, and I still think as well their defense is a lot more susceptible to concede more goals than Galway did in 2023.
Mhm.
But I think
And what about
my
Killian
turn to
Murphy?
John probably better talk about him, but
Say again, bud.
John would probably be better to talk about him because I've missed the last 2 games. But what I see him is
But
very
I just
impressive.
seen, did you seen his assist last night?
Yeah,
the assist last night was top class to Maguire and put on a plate from. But like the first division has been a bit mad so far, isn't it? Obviously, Treaty drawn 2 all with Kerry, a couple of penalties helped each side get a point. Finn Harp's got a point at home to Wexford. Wexford won up early. Obviously, that result there, and Bray came back and defeated Athlone. Athlone 2-1. It seems, unfortunately, John, the Sierra Leone international, it seems to struggling to make his impact. Can't make the bench anymore. But it'd be interesting now how Bray, with their, I think Sean Brennan and Jimmy Corcoran are their 2 oldest players at 25, which is mental for an Irish team to have their oldest players as 25-year-olds. But it's good to see, obviously, 2 young lads, Kinzinga and Tyreek Sammy, get the goals last night. But what did you just on back on your opinions, because I know you will still have a lot of opinions on these games despite missing them. Derry and Shamrock Rovers. The demolition job, really. Well, the 1-0 demolition job, I would say. Just statistically, on the eye, it was just all Rovers. The James McLean experiment midfield seems to be getting worse and worse. Do you think Tiernan Lynch, I asked Sean this earlier, do you think Tiernan Lynch is on his last legs at Derry?
I think it's far too early to live. I think there's 3 or 4 managers, not necessarily Joe O'Brien, but your likes of John Daly, even John Russell, Caulfield. Like there's a contingent of 3 or 4 managers that I think in the league should be under more pressure than Tiernan Lynch. I know they invested heavily in the offseason, similar to Shelburne in a sense, but I just think if they truly do believe in their system, their plan, they're going to have to stick by it. And I think, if you remember, around the time Roy Higgins left, before Tiernan Lynch came in, I was never a big fan of Roy Higgins, but the chairman, Philip O'Doherty, was said at the time when Roy Higgins left that he wanted him to stay on. That he said that he felt that though he wanted to see through a plan. And I think it'll be the same with Tiernan Lynch. I think it'll be very easy to sack him off after 5 or 6 games and rule him out. I think he'll be given time. I couldn't possibly see him being removed for, say, 30% of the season now. If they lost 5 or 6 games in a row, then of course there'll be a decision made. But I think unless things go drastically wrong, I think they have enough backbone to stay clear of the noise for now.
And because you've made a prediction that you think Damien Duff will be back in the League of Ireland before the end of the season. I know you think it will be Shells, but do you think if Derry get rid of Tiernan Lynch, we could see the Duffer? I know he said he wouldn't manage another League of Ireland team again. Shells is still club, but Derry have a lot of money. They could make him a lot of promises, probably a lot of bonuses, a huge upfront fee, very good wage. Do you think that's where you could see Duffer?
That's where I'd like to see Duffer. Aside from Cork City, probably just like purely out of the fact, just to prove me right, because there's nothing more that I enjoy than being proven right. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think Duffer would be the type of person who could come into the dressing room and James McLean would listen to and respect. I know there's a lot of talk about James McLean running the dressing room. If a lot of that is probably self-fulfilling because of the personality James McLean has. Is it as true as people make it? I don't think it is as true as people make it out to be. But Duffer, if you were to pick a character to come into Derry City right now and have a kind of presence about themselves, an aura that the likes of James McLean would listen to, I imagine James looked up to Duff because they're around. James would be about 6 or 7 years younger, so they're kind of they played together too. So I think there would be that mutual respect there. So yeah, I think like I backed off to do well with most teams in the league, to be honest. But I can't see it happening.
Sean, would it break every Shells fan's heart if he went to another League of Ireland club? Would his legacy almost be tarnished at Shells if he decided to pack up and move up to Derry? It's not even it's more just go to a different League of Ireland club, someone rivaling you for the title. And you know what Duff's like. As much as you love him and all, if Shells were facing a club manager, Damien Duff, he would play that like kind of pantomime villain role on the sideline. He'd be well up, and he'd probably, if things didn't go his way, or say for example his team got a late winner, he'd be doing his fist pumps probably up to the way end or Talca Park to the home fans. So would that break heart? And do you think there's any chance he ever comes back to the League of Ireland in the near future, manages a different club?
With Damien Duff, I suppose you just never know. But no, I think he said he'd never manage another League of Ireland club. Barry moved to one of the Dublin clubs. His legacy would never be tarnished because, look, he's immortal at Shelbourne Football Club. He just changed the whole culture. He absolutely just, as a side that were just coming back into the Premier Division, he just turned them upside down. I don't think his legacy will be tarnished by moving to Bohs, Rovers or Pats, but I can't see him going anywhere. Can't see him going to Derry. I just don't think he's ever going to come back to League of Ireland. But then again, we don't know what Damien Duff's thinking, so but highly unlikely.
Yeah, it'd be mad one to see. Just going through more comments here. PJ says Dave looks a few years younger. Which one are you referring to as Dave? Though, was it me or Sean you're referring to as Dave? PJ, that's the question. John Gallagher says, "Good evening, Mr. McAvoy." Good evening, John. Bit rude not to say hello to Sean. Very, very rude man you are. Celtic is on tonight. Good to see you, Celtic. Hello, Celtic.
Big game tomorrow too.
Big game tomorrow, yes.
Yeah, massive. Really looking forward to seeing the full section behind the goal back, which will be brilliant. And when Tina Turner starts blaring at the start of the game, it's definitely going to be worth tuning into. Yeah. Simply the best. It's always great crack to watch.
And then I'll turn it off for the rest because Celtic can get to bed. But yeah, Celtic unfortunately has been watching because we hadn't heard from. We were worried where Celtic had gone over recent months because he's one of our regular viewers and regular commenters. But Bill, do you have this on in the background? I can hear myself. I can hear an echo, but anyway, I don't think I can hear myself anymore. When Wilfred Nancy was the manager of Celtic, he broke his phone in anger, so he couldn't comment, but he still was watching. So good to see you on Celtic, and thankfully for your sake, Mr. Martin O'Neill's back to help you out, get your joy back for Celtic. But PJ also says, King Didsey, am I right, Connor? You are right. Rory says, may do a call-in show for the upcoming Czechia fixtures, will you? We will indeed, I'm sure. Bill and Sean, will you join us for that? I'm sure that'll be even more interesting because we have a lot more, I'd say, thoughts and people probably having to go with us for some of our opinions anyway. Celtic said, I'd have a go with McGoldrick in over Armstrong without a doubt. I'm not reading the rest of Celtic because that's just rude and wrong. I was actually...
That's not the question. Watching. The question is, would you have McGoldrick over Schmodic? And the answer is yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I would. Even though they're not competing for the same position, to be honest, Bill. So like, I wouldn't really. Maybe like if you kind of said to me, maybe would you have Smodics over Jamie McGrath, as that backup kind of number 10 left hand side? I would rather have Jamie McGrath, to be honest, because I think Jamie McGrath is better in our system. But
Smodics is 10 though. He's not really He's not really.
Is a 10. Yeah, well, you look at our system, we play 3-4-2-1 in possession, and Smodics is kind of played as that left number 10, and then out of possession, we go to a 4-4-2, and Smodics drifts to the left, and that's kind of where McGrath would play for Ireland as well. If you remember, he came on Finland in that position. I can't remember, he didn't do it when he came on, but he came on in that left number 10 role, which I think they're fighting for. But just to ask the 3Us, or the 2Us, sorry, 3Us. I know we're going away from League of Ireland here, but unless people have more League of Ireland comments, we can just talk about whatever for the next while. The three strikers for the upcoming camp. Obviously, Parrott's a cert. Or we could have fourth. You can say you can have a fourth and take out someone else in our position. You can whatever you think. Power's a cert. We presume Eid is a cert if he's fit, like just because of his built up reputation in the national team. That has scored goals, has been in there, played big games before, and it's just it's the other really one or two. Is it? Do you stick with Johnny Kenny? Do you go to Sinclair Armstrong? Do you bring McGoldrick back from when he walked away from the team? How many years ago was it? 4 years, 2022, wasn't it?
2020, yeah. 2020.
2020. So 6 years ago,
Jeez.
which is mad to think that we, and I don't think is there any like Tom Cannon, played 5 minutes today, and I don't think he's like a Sinclair Armstrong or David McGoldrick, where if he's not scoring goals, he's literally offering you nothing. To be honest, like the other two, it's they offer you the stuff first, and then hopefully the goals come with it. But McGoldrick obviously has turned into a massive goal scorer later in his career. Like I'm off the top of my head, I can't really think of any other striker that could possibly be an option. But yeah, lads, what do you think? Who is your? I'll go ask you first, Sean. What is your 3 or 4? If you want to go with 4 or 3, whatever you think the squad should be with.
Yeah, you're obviously going Parrott, Ida, and probably Kenny off the bat, and then after that, like if you're looking and you're saying if there are people saying Jack Moylan, now I'd love to see Jack Moylan play, and I think he will wear the green jersey before 2026 is out. In some stage, maybe the Nations League will be more fitting for him, or maybe even you can't really say the June friendlies if we are in the World Cup, because that's probably going to be you're getting minutes into the players out there. But yeah, the last one's up for grabs, to be honest. And you're looking at David McGoldrick, and like if it was any other 38-year-old striker, you wouldn't put him in. But it's just the fact that McGoldrick and what he had done for Ireland. I know he only scored 1 goal in the end, but just the influence he had. Now, look, I don't know if he can have the same influence again. And if it comes to the 26th of March, he's definitely not going to be starting if he's in the squad. Whether he'll play a role, I don't know. I'd imagine either or Kenny would definitely come on ahead of him. But yeah, it's interesting, and we're probably one more striker injury, fingers crossed on that, but away from a bit of you'll be thinking, God, who are we going to throw in here? And hopefully there's no injuries, but definitely not Troy. That would definitely spark a crisis. And obviously the news today came out about Evan Ferguson. But yeah, I'd definitely go with the 3. Then after that, I don't know, McGoldrick 50-50. What up to you, Heimer?
Yeah, so you wouldn't the whole thing of League One against Johnny Kenny and go for Sinclair Armstrong, who's more of a different to what we got. You'd stick with Kenny and stick with what the tried and trusted is. I know he's a tried. I know he only played literally once, but he was in there. Like,
yeah, he was in there, and he came onto the cauldron that was Budapest, and he probably should have had a goal. It was a great save as a goalkeeper, and he got himself in that position. Yeah. I don't know. Look, obviously Troy is going to be that. He's going to be the main man. And after that, definitely Eden. And I don't know. You probably have to go Kenny.
Yeah, Bill. And by the way, Jack Boylan, would you not? I know we're talking about a lot of people are throwing Jack Boylan in. I know it's been a talk online. I think people should be more. Is it Jack? People should be saying, well, Jack Moylan or Smodics or Jack Moylan or McGrath or Jack Moylan or someone that's kind of obviously finished as at me in like 10 as such, but like because Jack Moylan's not a striker, like he's plays as number 10. And you could play him striker if you wanted to, but like for what we need in this Ireland team, we need somebody who can hold up the ball and run in behind stuff. And Moylan's better, obviously, taking the ball in midfield or just behind the striker or lay it alongside the striker. But Bill, yeah, go on ahead, Bill. I know you will have your solid opinions on this.
Troy speaks for herself. I wouldn't be surprised if Ireland are playing like if we win, presumably we win the first match, and we're thereabouts are competitive in the second match. I wouldn't be surprised if Troy ends up playing 180 minutes across the 2 games. He's probably that step above everyone else. I think Ida comes back in because of his record. He scored 1 or 2 goals he scored during qualifiers. He'll get you a goal. I think his status would be as the man. Like if you want an extra striker on the pitch, bring him on. I'd have the artist formerly known as Jamal Upte, Sinclair Armstrong, as my third man. I just think again, I think you probably think very similar to me. He offers something different. He's a physical presence. Do I think Heimer will call him up? I do not think Heimer will call him up, to be honest. But those would be my 3. I'd have Parrott. I'd have him play 180 minutes across the 2 games. Ida, if you need him, and Sinclair Armstrong. And then I'd much rather, given our problems elsewhere in midfield, as well as some of our defenders lacking probably fitness, I'd have an extra defender or midfielder in the squad.
Obviously, Smallbone came back today, which was good to see, to get him minutes in the legs, and I think he could offer. I think it's strange because Conor Coventry got 90 minutes, but it was good to see today actually, because he was on the bench for like 9 games in a row or something mad before last week. And obviously, I think Smallbone actually, as a number 6, people kind of don't rate him as high as I actually think he is as a number 6, because when Southampton went up a couple of seasons ago, he was playing as a number 6, and although they were the best team in that league and they dominated possession, but whilst he was playing in that sort of team as a 6, he was brilliant. But it's when the team doesn't have much possession, he really struggles deep in midfield. Like, his athleticism and his ability off the ball can really can go missing at times. But yeah, just from my point of view, I would kind of call up 4 strikers, to be honest, just to do with fitness and different options. Obviously, I'd have Parrott there, Ida, although I do worry for Ida. Does he get minutes for Swansea between now and the window? He wasn't involved today. And I believe there's no. I'm just going to check here again. I don't know if there's midweek games this week. Actually, there is. I think there is midweek games this week. They play on Tuesday at Portsmouth away 7:45, and then there's one more game then before the announcement, which is they play Wrexham away next Saturday, and then there's no game mid the following week, which is the week of the squad announcement. So, like, if he doesn't play this week, he won't get any minutes before the announcement. And obviously there'll be one game after the announcement where they play Coventry at home on that Saturday. And it's not even a thing for me even being back before the window. I just don't see him really getting minutes, to be honest, because like, although they really only have one properly fit striker at the moment, their fit striker is that obviously Zan Vibutenik, whatever you call him. I don't know how to pronounce his name probably, to be honest. Slovenian striker who is the top goal scorer in the championship this season. Scored again today, 17 goals for the season. Like, I don't see either getting more than 20 minutes in any game between now and the end of the season, unfortunately. Or not in the season, sorry, that's a bit extreme. Between now and the window. So I worry about his fitness really heading into the window in terms of match sharpness and stuff. I think Kenny naturally keeps his place because of coming in November, and I think a lot of people obviously have been quite disrespectful in terms of like saying, "Oh, well, he's League One now, you can't pick him." But the reality is, we were picking him when he was scoring goals for Celtic in early November, and now he scored last week for Bolton and done very well, got man of the match, and then people are all of a sudden acting like he's suddenly become a worse player overnight because he's playing in League One, which really is equivalent to it's equivalent to the Scottish Premiership. Although your likes of Celtic would be too good for League One, but like in general, if you remove them teams, the teams they play against, he's playing against the same level, and he's more of the main man at Bolton now, which may improve his confidence, improve his ability for the goal. Although he played 80 minutes today, and they were 2-0 down when he came off, and then they came back to 2-2. But we all know Kenny's a brilliant player from his time at Shamrock Rovers and obviously Sligo. And then, yeah, as Bill would say, I would be very, very much in the camp of call up Sinclair Armstrong. I think everyone knows that I'm kind of the leader of the online Sinclair Armstrong club fan club. Watching him today against Coventry, I thought he was absolutely brilliant in the first half. For the second time this season, actually playing against him, I thought he was brilliant against him, running behind. Had the defenders really on toast at times in terms of every time the ball went to his feet, they try to stand off him 5 yards to try and give him room, so he can't knock a pass him and run, but they still struggle, and people bounce off him. And I obviously talk about the way we've set up quite a bit, like in terms of that 3-4-2-1, but it kind of ends up being a 3-4-2-1 where Ogbene goes more as right beside Parrott at times, and Izaz kind of has freedom. Obviously, defensively covers the left, but when we have the ball, he kind of has room to come inside and do what he wants. Whereas Ogbene kind of plays more up with Parrott. I do think if we're not going to play Ogbene, or Ogbene can't play 90 minutes due to lack of minutes of sharpness, because I kind of count Ogbene as another number 9 as such, because even out of possession we go to a 4-4-2 and Ogbene is in that front too. So I think Sinclair Armstrong's probably the best backup we have in that sort of role, because we need someone who can run in behind, who can do the dirty work, who can hold the ball up, who can spin defenders. And the big thing is he strikes fear in defenders. Like, I know people talk about goals, this, that, but like sometimes you need a player that will do the dirty work and will win free kicks and will put fear in. And as other European defenders aren't used to it. Like, and I know a lot of like these Czech defenders, obviously Souček or Soufal has played in the Premier League, obviously Souček midfielder, but centre half wise, they've Krejci plays for Wolves, who physically, I think is quite poor. He's really struggled, obviously, this year. They're one of the worst Premier League teams ever. So I think he could be. I think he is the ideal option in international football in terms of how we play. If we were dominating the game, as I say, if we were playing Armenia in back-to-back games, I would say there's no point putting Sinclair even in the squad. But I think for these sort of games, I think he's the perfect option. And it is interesting now what way he does look at it. Like, does he think we need a player like that? Because Ida can do that sort of work, but he seems to rather just get the ball into feet and try and play football more rather than do the dirty work, which I think actually when he does the dirty work, when he tries to hold the ball up, is at his best, considering when you think back to, obviously, I think everyone thinks back to Portugal away when he was man of the match that day and he was absolutely brilliant, but it was more for the work he done rather than being unbelievable in front of goal or setting up these chances and playing as a prime Didsy performance as such. But like, the question of Didsy coming back in is, like, he has lost that yard at BS. Like, he's not the same player he was. Like, people expect Didsy to be Didsy again. Like, they just expect him to come back in and do whatever
he's never just gonna come back in like he was in
and
2019.
that's
It's very different now.
Yeah, it's a problem, and I know it's everyone's victim to it because I'm not saying because of I watch more football than other people, but everyone is people are probably victims of stats. And I know it was 10 in his last 9, and he's been absolutely brilliant. But like, you can't just take it all off stats, because if we took it all off stats, certain players wouldn't be near the team. Certain players would be picked based on stats. Like, if we were picking based on stats, Aaron Cashin would be probably our best centre half because he's probably analytically he's the best player in the championship in terms of defenders wise and stuff. But I just think when someone's kind of decided to step away and it's 6 years later, I think especially when you bring him back in for, like, the reality is you could bring Didsy in for a one-off, like, playoff, like we could lose to Czechia and like we could be 1-0 up until, say, the 70. So we get an early goal, Parker gets an early goal, 70 minutes are in, and you're looking for a player that can kind of run channels, do things in behind. You're probably looking to the other two strikers you'd have in the squad over Didsy, although Didsy was brilliant at that in his prime. He's not going to do that anymore for you. It's more dropping deep that he'll take the ball and take the ball. I just don't think that's what we'd need. So, like, he could come and say they scored 2 late goals, and you're like, well, we brought this lad back in at 38 years of age to not even play, and he would think, oh, I wasted my time here. What have I done here? And I think he might be a bit hesitant because of how well he's doing at Barnsley. He might think, as a 38-year-old, my body kind of, although they won't get a rest probably because they would have enough lads call up the national football. I know they'll probably have Patrick Kelly will be in with the North, and they might have one other, maybe or two other with a different random country that, like, one of those mad islands. But yeah, I just think we're just. Although I think we'd all be like, my whole TikTok at the moment, like, is just Didsy. People making Didsy edits, like, and it's class, like, and he's one of my favorite ever Irish players, and everyone knows I like to refer to King Didsy as King Didsy rather than just Didsy. But yeah, and else in the squad, you lads want to see. Also, I'll read out Sligo Boy's comments because he was talking a bit, saying also PJ first, lads, what do you think of the LOI STO accounts? What do you think of that, lads?
I don't know. That seems to be more and more STO accounts. Maybe does every team in the Premier Division have a STO account at this stage? I know STO Shells and STO Bohs are probably the original ones. But look, it's just a bit of crack at the end of the day.
Yeah, Bill, are they on your good list?
I think they have them muted, to be honest.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, anyway, Sligo Boy says Connor in all caps. I don't know if I said last week, I refer to BBC Sport for results. Every time in live play, Irish results show in play. Yeah, MLS, India, Iceland, anywhere but ERA are shown live.
What?
Does anyone know what he means? Does he mean games? To watch the games? Or
No idea.
you might need to expand on what you mean by that, Sligo Boy. I think he's on. I know he's Sligo Boy. I think he referred when we were talking about Santa Clara, saying Santa Claus would beat them. Bit harsh, I think. Comment towards Bill. Bill Gravity Expert. Fair play to you, Bill.
Thanks.
The other one from Stupendous Hoops. Joey is bankrupting them before he comes to Rovers in a few years post Bradster. Would you like to see that happen, Sean?
I'd like to see that happen.
Sean's froze, has he? Sean's froze, just staring at the screen.
Oh, I've gone.
He's gone. He's disappeared. Obviously, Sligo was a Kenny subbed on, and the result changed to 2-2 after obviously
I
they
can't
came
hear
on.
anything.
You can't hear it. You can't hear me, Mr. Gain, Bill, Billy. No, Bill's sound's gone. If you're in the comments, make sure you can you hear me in the comments? Sligo boy, say, can you hear me? Just say yeah if you can hear me. If you can't, say you can't hear me. Don't know what has happened there. If Bill and Sean are still on the line, join back if you can. But if not, don't worry. Bill is back actually. Hello, Bill. Can you hear me?
Yeah, the sound went. I don't know. Sort
All
of.
right, but I don't know. I thought it was me. I was thinking, oh god, what's happened here? Sean must have frozen out, but if hopefully he's alive anyway. Switchblade says Sligo Rovers for top of the league in next 6 games. Oh, that's a bold shout. And Sligo Boy says they're going in the right direction there indeed. And Sligo Boy means what? Results shown live. Ireland show in play only. Only BBC. Oh yes, I get you. That's very strange. I don't know why. You must have to, I say, send him an email and file a complaint, Sligo Boy, because that is unacceptable in my opinion. But Bill, anyway, before we wrap it up here in a minute or two, what is your bold prediction for the squad? Who do you want in the squad, or do you have any final comments on the League of Ireland that you didn't get to portray? What have you got to say to us?
Let's put me on the spot there now. I think Dundalk. Well, I'll go one League of Ireland, one Ireland squad. For the League of Ireland, I think Dundalk. And I made this point at the start of season 2. I thought that the players that Dundalk recruited, aside from Conor Kearns, were weaker than the players they had already in their squad. And that was with respect to likes of Owen Kenny and Mayo and Vinny Leonard, who I rated highly. I think you're not seeing enough from the experienced heads in Dundalk at the moment. They collapsed against Derry. They were battered by Pats. I'd be concerned if I was a Dundalk supporter about their more experienced players. And in terms of the squad, I would like to see Amdali back. It probably won't happen, but
Who do you want to replace? So
any of them.
because the thing is, it's easy to say though, like, isn't it? It's easy. Like I there's a lot of players I think, oh, I'd love to see them in the squad, but then when I go through, like, because you'd expect to be 25-man squad because Scales and Vesta you can't play the first game, and you add to it, and it's actually very hard, which is probably a good thing, even despite our injuries. It's very hard to pick a 25 and not think, well, I've left out someone who probably deserves to be there, or I think will be there.
I'd much like, I know Jimmy Dunn is probably more natural. If it comes back to the right back position, Coleman will be in. Do you have Doherty? Do you have Dunn? Do you look elsewhere? Did he play right back before against Portugal, or did I make that up?
Against Greece at home, we did.
Yeah. Like, I know his body's questionable, and by Mr. Dunn anyway, and having Coleman and Amamdeli as your right hand side options mightn't be ideal, but I just like to put Amamdeli in somewhere.
Yes. But what about if it was between Boston and Omobamidele? Because obviously Boston can play anywhere.
I'd have Bowden, so.
Oh, fancy. We'll go on to these last couple of comments and then we'll wrap it up for the night. Thanks for the support on your lads tonight. Appreciate it on a Saturday night. Not usual. I don't know when's the last time we've done a Saturday night show. It's probably the last time Ireland played on a Saturday night. So anyway, PJ says poor Sean couldn't deal with the idea of Joey O'Brien going to Rovers. That could be very true. And then Sligo Boy says, I have a chance of a ticket of Sevco versus Celtic tomorrow. I'll keep you posted. Good man, Sligo Boy. I hope you get one. I hope you do, and hope you beat them lot. But and Liam Scales scores, and no one else scores. Just Liam Scales scoring. And obviously Bill probably wants it to be probably 3-2. Mikey Moore scores twice for Rangers, and Scales scores a hat trick. But yeah, lads, we'll probably leave it there for tonight. We really appreciate support. Everyone has come on Saturday night. Wasn't expect. We didn't know how tonight would go. Obviously, with it being a different night for League of Ireland after hours, but we thought with the game being on tonight, we'd push the show to tonight with Sligo obviously getting that victory over Drogheda United. And just I'll pull up the two tables just for if anyone wasn't aware before as the night ends. Obviously Bohs sitting on top of 13 points, Pat second and 10. Rovers, Derry and Drogheda sit from third to fifth and seventh. Sixth and seventh is Shells and Drogheda, or Shells and Galway, sorry, on 5. Dundalk and Sligo on 4th, and propping up the table is Waterford on 2. And then obviously first division, as expected, Cork top on 10, dropped the first points at the weekend. UCD second and 7th, as are Athlone, Bray are both level with them from 2nd to 4th and 7th. From 5th to 7th as well is Wexford, Finn Harps, Cove, both or all 3 on 5. Longford on 3, Kerry on 2, Treaty on 1. And that's kind of, there's no real huge shocks yet. So there's a few more comments come in. Liam Scales is a Libron. Very nice to know. Bill, comment directed towards you. I look forward to Bill posting about Mikey Moore being eligible when he inevitably scores. Are you looking forward to it, Bill?
I won't watch. I'm not going to be watching the game.
It doesn't matter if he's bloody watching. You'll have your phone on, and you will know what to do. Like if he scores, you will be ready on. You have the finger on the pulse and ready to go.
Look, but like I'll do it if I'll probably do it if Liam Scales scores too. So not bad for that.
Celtic boys really bringing in insults. Trimity is a Pyrex test tube baby. Or Trimity scored a lovely bicycle kick last weekend. PJ says in the drafts already. I hear. Is that true, Bill?
There's lots of things in my drafts.
Rory says, I'd have Dizzy as our striker over Armstrong anyway. I trust him to score in a penalty shootout. That is a valid point. You would trust Dizzy in the shootout, although I don't think you can pick a player purely off penalty shootout basis. They are professional footballers, and so. But I can understand, like you would trust Dizzy in a shootout. But if that's all you have him in the squad for, I would worry. PJ says you're very mysterious there, Bill. But I'm sure we will find out. But lads, anyway, so if it's your first time watching Lansdowne Roar, make sure Bill still hasn't subscribed to Lansdowne Roar Plus yet. I don't know why. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, $4.99 a month. Just to support the podcast even further. Catch up extra shows on our State of Play, Premier League, Champions League, Talking Shite. Team of the weeks where we go through all things Irish football, and obviously we take your suggestions. We have a video going up tomorrow on how the top 6 in the championship's going to finish up, who's going to win it, who's getting playoffs, who's getting relegated. Same in the Premier League with who's winning the Premier League, top 5 for Champions League, and who's going down. So that'll be going up tomorrow for Roar Plus subscribers. And make sure you get yourself on Roar Plus. And sport is ahead of going to be the best international window ever, Bill. I think it's going to be. And I would leave it on a final comment before we head off from the main man in the show, Sligo Boy. Hail the Sligo Rovers. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll leave it there tonight. Thank you for your support. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, head over to Spotify, give us a 5-star ratings. And Bill, make sure to follow you at IFB Media on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. Definitely not Blue Sky. You're anti that. So I'm not missing any other platforms, am I?
No, it's most of them.
All right, that's most. YouTube, if you want to, but he doesn't post on YouTube yet. But or properly, I know just shorts, but proper videos yet. But anyway, lads, we'll leave it there. Bill, thanks for coming on. Thanks for Sean coming on tonight as well. Hopefully, he's there. Thanks to everyone in the comments. PJ and Sligo Boy are having a go at each other. Who can be the last to comment? But anyway, lads, I'll leave it there. Thank you for your support tonight, and we will see you next Friday night.
Good luck.